Welcome to TOMMO'S Race CHINWAG, your favourite Formula 1 podcast produced by a British biased bloke with a massive Swede full of very questionable wheel knowledge. Broadcast live on YouTube and after the fact on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We have a good old natter about each and every Grand Prix of the season. My name's Tommo, let's talk about it. Good morning, good afternoon and good evening. Welcome everyone on live, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you are. And this one's sponsored by Saley. Once again, more on them in a bit. Austrian Grand Prix pre-race CHINWAG edition. Lucas, Lamvart Corridor, David, Gladiator Thu, Laddie, Desktop, Caspian, Zander, Lucas, Daniel, JD, and the rest of you. Appreciate you all taking the time to be here live on YouTube or after the fact, however you choose to consume these podcasts. We've had a week off. Let's get into it. Let's get into the meat and bones of Austria on a Tuesday, which is a bit out of kilter. Usually we do these on a Wednesday. There is good reason. I am going to see the F1 movie tonight, and I am going to do a video tomorrow giving my review, my honest feedback. I don't really know what to expect. It should be cool. I'm going to see it at IMAX at Leicester Square, so I'm buzzing for that. And yeah, I'm going to bring the meat and bones of it. I didn't want to do two videos tomorrow, so I thought I'd do the live stream today. You can't do it too early, can you? We're already in the, the buzz of a race weekend. So live stream today on Tuesday, video tomorrow. Probably I'll make it a video for the F1 movie. So make sure you check out the Tommo YouTube channel tomorrow for that. My thoughts and feelings on the upcoming F1 movie. Buzzing for that. Hopefully it's decent. My expectations are high, actually. They are high. I've been to a bunch of Grand Prix, including, was it at Austria? Were they filming F1 movie stuff at Austria? I don't know if they were. They were at Hungary. They were at Silverstone. And I was there for two of those Grand Prix. I've been to Austria, and we'll get onto that as well, but I don't think they were filming F1 movie stuff there. I can't actually remember. But regardless, should we get into it? Shall we get into it? I think we should, shouldn't we? Round 11, the Styrian Hills, an incredible Grand Prix to visit. I would highly recommend it, to be honest. It's a bit of a pain. Don't do what I did. Me and Aldas, we stayed in Vienna and got the 2-hour train to and from Spielberg each day. And we went 2 of the days. We went Friday and Saturday. It was a sprint weekend. It's not a sprint weekend this time round. And sprint weekend was great, actually. From a fan being there, feet on ground point of view, sprint weekend was a better than a normal weekend, I think, just objectively so. And then filmed last lap on the Sunday. So flew back on the Sunday morning, should I say. But yeah, that was chaotic. If you can stay closer to the track, the weather was lush, and it should be lush this weekend. When I went, we know we can get a bit of a washout in Austria. Sometimes it shouldn't be like that this time around. It's a really cool... Desktop, you're right. It's a super cool circuit to watch the race from. If you can watch the race from a turn, I can never remember corner names. Why can I never remember corner names? Look, we'll look at the circuit overview now, right? This is the perfect time to look at it because that's the corner names right there on the screen. Because you've got turn 2, which is, you can't call turn 2, okay? If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you're visually watching, you can't call turn 2 turn. That's not a turn. That is a kink, and not that kind of kink. Turn 3, if you can sit up at turn 3, it's where me and Aldas were sat, you get an incredible view. That's the highest point of the track. It's a slog getting up there, right? It's good for your cardio, good for your calves and your quads, but it's an unbelievable view when you're sat up there. You get you get the Porsches out as well. You often get, have we got both support series this weekend? I didn't actually check, to be honest. F2, F3. I can't remember. But you always get a bunch of support series. There's a bunch of cars on track all of the time, not just Formula 1. This is a banging circuit to go to. And as you can see from my weather report, which I got from Google this morning, on Friday, Saturday and Sunday, it's looking like no rain currently. This is for Spielberg anyway, which is the area that the Red Bull Ring is in. 27 degrees Friday, 28 Saturday, 29 Sunday. Highs of anyway, which is going to be a test for certain teams that really do struggle when it gets a bit toasty. Okay, so the Red Bull Ring, Spielberg, Austria, 4.32 kilometers long, 71 laps, 10 corners, some of them not even proper corners. I mean, to be fair, I think you can debate the merits of turn 5. Is turn 5 a corner? Again, that's just kind of, it's part of turn 4 in a way. But, I mean, you can crash there. Kimi and Vettel, wasn't it? I remember a few years back, Kimi just kind of lazily drafted into him. It wasn't ideal. Turn 2's not... So it's really 9 corners, okay? It's really 9, maybe even 8. Maybe even 8. That is a push. Yeah, both F2 and F3 are there. Thank you, Racing Fan, for clarifying that. So I thought that would be the case because typically you get everything at Austria, okay? It's a well-traversed circuit. It's been on the calendar for a good amount of time now. A bit of a cult classic. I love it. It just goes to show that a simple track does not make it a bad track. And an overly complicated track can be a bad track. You know, you look at, say you're someone who doesn't know motorsport, isn't into Formula One, you would look at a track like this. You'd look at a track like Miami, right? And you look at both and be like, okay, they both seem pretty simple. I reckon, they're both quite similar. But as we know, as F1 fans, the Red Bull Ring delivers significantly more than the Miami Autodrome. I mean, I don't think that's a controversial take anyway. But hey, maybe it is. Maybe it is. So that's the Red Bull Ring. Red Bull Ring. That's what we've got to look forward to this weekend in Austria, round 11. But what happened last time? Well. Tweedledum and Tweedledee over here. Look, that was such a... Look, on reflection, so we all remember what happened. Lando on the outside going into turn 3, technically. That should be turn 2, but it's turn 3. On the outside, sticks to his line, which he is entitled to do. Doesn't put any of his car off track. And Max comes across. There's a banging of wheels. Slight contact with massive result. Both cars get punctures. Max does end up finishing the race. Lando destroys his floor. And George Russell inherits the win. And, mate, I think, honestly, looking back at it, and I can't remember exactly what I said about the incident at the time, but it's so innocuous. It's one of them that Max assumes Lando is going to use the curb. And I think that's understandable. You look back at other incidents, I want to say Vettel and Hamilton, maybe 2018, there was a similar one. We've had incidents like that before where, again, you're the car on the... You want to open up the corner as much as you can as the car on the inside. Lando's going for the overtake on the outside. Max doesn't want to compromise his line too much because then he get a really bad exit out of 3. He moves over. He gets the penalty, which in the eyes of the law, it's a fair cop. It is Max driving into Lando. But again, it's so innocuous. I can understand why Max would expect Lando to use the runoff. I understand as well, given last year, given how it was getting tasty at moments, wasn't it, between these two, how Lando, thought, I'm going to hold my ground. And it's just one of them. I kind of, to sit on the fence, but I kind of am sat on the fence because I understand both perspectives, how it happened, and the outcome was pretty significant for both of them. Outside of that, pretty interesting Grand Prix. Not a blinder by Austrian standards, but we did have this big pinch point moment at a time in the season where you felt that if Lando had converted the win, because he did seem to be the faster car on the day, maybe that would have changed things from a championship point of view. Again, super unlucky. We see far bigger pieces of contact resulting in far less damage, but that's the way it goes sometimes. And of course, with Max's penalty points, where he currently sits on 11 out of 12, that is valid because he got penalty points for that incident in Austria last time out. So he's still on 11 out of 12. So you still might get some George naughtiness trying to get him a penalty, which I would not put past George because we know that is fully in George's playbook. But you know what? I've said this before, I say it again about Max and George. They might go about things slightly differently, but at their core, they will both, and I use this quote again and again and again from Max at the end of last year in that interview with Lawrence Barretto, I will do everything I can to win. And I fully believe Max means that, everything he can to win. I think George is the same. And if George is going to play it as, penalty point, ban. If that's what he's got to do, that's what George will do, okay? You might not like it, and, you might not like the way Max races sometimes. You might not like the way George conducts himself sometimes. But the greats aren't here to be loved, The greats aren't here to be loved by all. They will be loved by some and hated by others. And that's kind of, I think, quite a consistent legacy of sporting greats. You know, there's very few that are globally across the board loved. That's a very hard balance to strike, because so often in sport, to reach the top, you have to engage in the dark arts. You know, the game is the game. Maybe it is, Avkid. Maybe it is just the game being the game. And thank you, FT Bumble, for the feedback on my video yesterday. I really do appreciate that. So let's reflect on the quali head-to-heads after 12 of 30 qualifying sessions so far this season. Of course, the biggest gap on average remains to be Verstappen Tsunoda. Then it's Alonso Stroll, 3.5 tenths. Russell Antonelli, 3 tenths. Hajar Lawson, 2.5 tenths. Those are the kind of those are the concerning ones. Obviously, Max and Yuki, we know the situation with the second Red Bull seat. We know we haven't seen a driver jump in alongside Max and look comfortable since Daniel Ricciardo did in 2018. And it continues. Hopefully, Yuki can find something. We say it again and again. I want to see this work. I love Yuki. There's many of you out there who are equally invested in Yuki Coin as I am. And let's see, shall we? Alonso Stroll, 3 and a bit tenths on average. I mean, look, Alonso's one of the greatest to ever do it. Lance is not a terrible F1 driver, but he's not a particularly good one either. I think that's a pretty representative gap, to be honest, of what the difference is between the two of them. Russell Antonelli, almost 3 tenths. I think Kimi's had some he's shown that raw speed. Miami proves that without any shadow of doubt. You can't do what he did in both qualifying, because he was very good in normal qualifying for Miami as well, not just when he put it on sprint pole in Miami. I think that Antonelli graduated as well, by the way. He literally graduated like last week, I want to say, or earlier this week, whenever it was, which is hilarious. It doesn't make me feel old at all. And yeah, Kimi's still got a bit of a stinky qualifying in him, but also race pace wise in Canada, you know, he was right up there to the end. So almost got P2, if not for, you know, Max cooking on his outlap and coming out ahead of Kimi. He could have got a Mercedes 1-2 in Canada, which would have been huge. A 1-3 anyway is huge for them. So Antonelli, he's got work to do, but again, the raw signs are absolutely there. Hajar Lawson, that's a concerning one. That's a big concerning one, over 2.5 tenths of a second advantage. Hajar, Liam needs to find something quick. I know the situation hasn't been ideal. He didn't get the preseason prep with his team. He's on a different side of the garage than he was before. You know, Hajar's got his car, remember, from last year. Now Liam's got Yuki's car from this year. Like it's a bit, there's some cross wires there clearly, and it's not quite working yet for Liam. And we'll talk about Arvid in a minute, because we've got more news on Mr. Lindblad. And then Leclerc, Hamilton, Piastri, Norris, Albon, Sainz rule, and Gasly, Colapinto, all about 1.5 tenths. Hulkenberg bought that over a tenth, and then Ocon, Behrman less than a tenth. So for most of them, it's pretty tight. There's a few outliers, but again, we're keeping track of this over the course of this season. This is a good representation of real qualifying gaps, not race pace gaps. Again, they're two different things. Maybe that's I don't know. I feel like there's too many numbers there. If I could have an equivalent head-to-head for like race pace gaps, that would be lovely. But I've not got those facilities. Okay, no, my brain would scramble even just contemplating doing that. It just wouldn't work for me. It just wouldn't work. So the driver standings after 10 of 24 rounds are as follows. Piastri is ahead, of course, of Lando Norris by 22 points, who is then ahead of Max Verstappen by 21 points. Slight damage limitation. Max was able to claw some points back on the McLaren boys last weekend, but still the damage from Spain is not great at all. George Russell, 136, has managed to keep his nose in it. Absolutely keep his nose in it. And if, as the thumbnail suggests, perhaps Mercedes have found something, not just with their performance in Canada, but with more upgrades coming in this race. We'll see. False dawn have been plenty with Mercedes and Ferrari. Leclerc 104, Hamilton 79. Leclerc and Hamilton are the only two drivers to complete every single lap of every single race this season, yet they are 5th and 6th in the Drivers' Championship, which is clearly not good enough. Colour spot on this weekend. Yes, I know, Avkid. I absolutely nailed it. Happy days. And hello, Freebird from Brisbane. Love Brisbane. Beautiful city. Very cool place to live. Antonelli 63, Albon 42. Been a bit of a wobble for Williams as of late, but of course he's banked big points earlier on in the season, which is going to serve him well. Ocon 22, Hadjar 21, Hulkenberg 20. Rounds out your top 11. Okay, the rest, as you can see, Bortoleto, Colapinto, Doohan. See, Doohan's not getting a point. Are the only drivers without a point so far this season. I think that's, Bortoleto might be on nil point, but I think his performances have merited more than that. I think Bortoleto's held himself well, actually, this season. And Hulkenberg's a huge challenge. So to be within, a tenth and a half of Nico Hulkenberg, with all that experience, I think actually Gabby is low-key cooking. And when we get to mid-season report time, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting to try and work out how I'm going to delegate positions, I'm not too sure. Because I don't do a rounding, like Matt and Tommy, they do their points or grades over the course of, so they've got a very mathematical way of going about it. I'm more going off kind of vibes, which is probably less accurate, but also, and probably more at risk of recency bias. But I like the challenge, I do like the challenge. So those are the driver standings. The team standings, of course, McLaren are way on top. Papaya on top, 199 points, for Mercedes, 183 for Ferrari, 162 for Red Bull. There's a big challenge going on there. I think Williams P5 is pretty much hooked up. As soon as Sainz starts getting more comfortable with this car, he's going to start bringing them in, I am sure. And then Haas Racing Bulls both on 28, Aston Martin 22, Sauber 20, and Alpine on 11. So it's very, very tight amongst that bottom 5. Big intrigue going into this weekend. And look, again, each race, each circuit, each ambient temperature, humidity, weather is going to favour some teams more than others. And that's the beauty of this sport. And that's the beauty of also not having a spec series, because I think there's a lot of frustration, understandable frustration, when we see this sport be super stretched out accordion, right? Where you've got the quickest teams are miles ahead of the slowest teams. But also when you have a spec series, and yes, I know not all cars are exactly the same, teams still have an impact. You look at IndyCar, you look at Formula 2, etc., etc. But having different cars that are fundamentally different in so many ways, like F1 cars are, fundamentally similar in so many ways, but also so different, does mean that, you can get, if you've got good traction, you've got, you come alive at rear limited circuits or come alive at front limited circuits, blah, blah, blah. It just creates a little bit more intrigue when that accordion closes up. It's too stretched out all too often, but when it's close, it's good. It's cooking. So big fight there for P2, big fight there for P6, ultimately, is how it looks it's going to be in the Constructors. Right. Back to full screen. Lowell, thank you so much for the super chat. Much appreciated. Turn 3 here is my corner on the calendar. Such a cinematically beautiful corner. Agree. What is Tomo's favourite corner of the year? Cheers. I mean, in terms of a corner that I've sat at and witnessed with my own eyes, I mean, if anyone remembers last year in the sprint in Austria, in the rain, where Checo kind of squeezed Max off the track through turn 2, I guess, down that straight that isn't straight because it has a turn 2 in it apparently, and then Max super squeezed Checo into turn 3. Seeing that with my own eyes was so cool. And then you can still see the cars going down and around when they come around to turn 6 and 7. You can see the cars going through there because you're so high up. So I would agree, Lowell. I think that is and you've got the you can't appreciate it on the screen just how steep it is getting up to turn 3. So the cars, you're kind of off. I agree, for a corner that looks so simple on a track map, there's a lot to it, and the undulation really, that's something that Austria has. You say about Miami, I used that comparison earlier, you get zero undulation at Miami, meaningful undulation. You get so much at Austria that actually changes things and impacts the racing in a positive way, So I think I would agree that in terms of what I've seen. Oh, we've got some lag. Excellent. If you are lagging right now, just chuck a refresh on the stream and then that should sort you right out. Sorry about that. Excellent connection on my side. Everything's fine on my side, but obviously it isn't. So there you go. Right, before we get any more lag, a quick word from our sponsor. Race CHINWAG is sponsored by Saily, the new eSIM service app created by the very founders of NordVPN, who sponsored last time. A double threat. Lovely jubbly. Saily is my go-to way to make sure I can stay connected online, especially when I'm traveling outside of Europe where my normal data plan just doesn't work. Remember the end of last year when I went to New York and did that video walking around Weehawken and the Port Imperial GP track that never actually happened? Well, Saily was my eSIM of choice for that trip. The days are gone of having to hang about in an airport arrivals terminal waiting for some extortionately priced local SIM. Simply download the Saily app ahead of time and purchase one of their multiple plans that work in over 190 countries and 8 regions. Fingers crossed, with my Red Bull opportunity there will be chances to go to Grand Prix outside of Europe. That would be really cool, and thanks to Saily, my data plan is one less thing I need to worry about. If you're interested in giving Saily a try, I have an exclusive discount just for you. Just download the Saily app and use the code TOMMOF1 at checkout, or head to saily.com/TOMMOF1 for 15% off. Jobs are good and happy days. Now back to live Tommo, who ironically is probably struggling with his lagging internet connection right now, isn't he? Honestly, I put the end of that ad read in and it's so true, isn't it? It's so true. Of course I'm struggling with lag, but we can't have lag during the ad read. Thank you, Saily, for sponsoring this rendition of Tommo's Race CHINWAG. Okay, let's get into the news, shall we? We have news, starting off with why I have thumbnailed this in such a way, okay? Talking about Mercedes being back potentially. Look, they were close to a 1-2 in Canada, okay? In those specific circumstances, the car came alive. George did an incredible job. Kimi did an incredible job as well. And now we have even more reason to be optimistic. And again, many are forestalled with Mercedes, but we have reason to be optimistic. I've taken this from a Motorsport Week document. What am I talking about? A report, publication. I've lost my ability to English today. Talking all about Mercedes having more upgrades in the pipeline. These are the words of Simone Resta, ex-Haas, now Mercedes, who's kind of technical lead. I can't remember the exact title Simone Resta has at Mercedes, but talking about revealed upgrades in the pipeline, more developments of the Red Bull ring. I would sign everywhere to repeat it, but I'm sure it's going to be that easy, and clearly we learned a lot from the start of the season in those conditions. Like I mentioned, we learned some characteristics in Imola, in Spain, and I think we'll be building step by step, let's say, our understanding going into Austria this weekend. Of course, we've also got new parts coming onto the car in those races that they will always be helping improve in performance. So let's see what we can get in Austria. I cannot speak. It's almost like that is the most important part of my job, to be able to speak, and I can't do it. It's on screen. That was my pathetic attempt at reading words on a screen for you. Look, I think that I hope that, and look, there's many a time, and I've been burnt by Ferrari so many times, by hoping, believing, wanting, wishing for something to be true. And, you know, Mercedes, look, I've not got the same sentimental attachment to Mercedes like I do to Ferrari. Of course I haven't. I don't think many people do. And I would love to see Ferrari back at the top, more so than I would Mercedes, look, to be frank, as teams. Even though George fighting for a title, Kimi fighting for a title would be just as vibes as Charles or Lewis fighting for a title, in my opinion. But they've got to turn it around at some point. Otherwise, they've wasted so much time, just like Ferrari seemingly have wasted so much time focusing on this 2025 car and not just focusing all their effort on 26. I hope that there's something. Maybe try in German, Lowell. Maybe I should try in German. I just really hope that they can give George something. I think, you know, it's obviously too early for Kimi to be able to fight for a title, but I think George is absolutely there. And again, looking back at the driver standings, you know, George is 62 points away from Oscar. 62 points is a lot, but when there's 14 rounds to go, It's not impossible. It's definitely not impossible. So I'm hoping. We'll see. But also, Bottas to Cadillac. Jump scare Valtteri. Look, it's not confirmed, but if you haven't seen the video of Valtteri having a play around with this Cadillac, talking about, the seat, I won't show you the video because I don't want to get copyright, but also you should watch it yourself and consume it in its own way without me sitting in the corner like a reaction streamer just going, like, we're not entertaining that level of brain rot here on TOMMO'S Race CHINWAG, okay? The soft launch, perhaps, Rainer, perhaps it is a soft launch. We'll see. Perhaps it's just his way of putting a bit of pressure on. Perhaps it's his way of showing Cadillac, look, if you sign me, this is the kind of banging content I can deliver. He's a funny guy, Valtteri. He's kind of, in some ways, Valtteri's very Finnish. In some ways, he's not very Finnish. Like, this is about as far away from anything Kimi Räikkönen would ever have done. So, fair play, Valtteri, for breaking the mould of generalizations that we all tend to make wrongly, of course. But yeah, Bottas to Cadillac, maybe. We'll see. He's certainly, if it's not going to happen, then he's working hard to try and make it happen. You know, comfy launch. Time will tell. Talking of upgrades as well. And look, Ferrari, new floor for Austria has been all but confirmed. I was reading an article earlier from autoracer.it, translated into English, of course, and it's quite long, and obviously it's a translation, so it's not a perfect translation. But yes, it seems that a new floor is coming to the car. To what level, it really does depend. You read in different places. Some people seem to feel like this is going to be a really big difference, big deal. The expectation was around, the Spain flexi-wing changes and an upgrade Ferrari would bring in there was going to be a big deal, but then a lot of that got pushed back, and Austria, potentially some more in Silverstone as well from Ferrari, but it's very hard to get... It's very hard. There's so much noise around Ferrari, more than any other team. And the media, and Fred having his little ding-dong with Italian media as well, probably isn't helping matters. I do feel for Fred, but also I think where Fred has been quite cagey with where upgrades are coming and the progress of the car, and very positive even when there's not that many positives to see. I think in some ways Fred maybe creates a bit of a rod for his own back and creates some of the speculation by not clarifying things. I don't know if he necessarily helps himself, but I understand he wants to protect the team from the noise on the outside. It's like in any sport, sometimes you get football managers who will just defend the team to show support and show leadership in that way, and others will call them out and try and provoke a reaction from their players. So I think Fred's definitely in the prior camp to that. And look, so many false dawns. I'm going to try and have no expectations and try not to believe in Ferrari and see if that works, because every time I do believe in them, they drop they drop it out their arse. So let's see this weekend. Let's see if Ferrari can actually find something with their new floor. Also this weekend, quite exciting. I saw someone in the live chat earlier. Don't know if you're still here. Alex Dunn, repping the Irish flag, of course. We'll be doing FP1 for McLaren in Austria. Again, to reiterate, this is a normal weekend. No sprint weekend in Austria this year, which is a shame. I think Austria really works as a sprint race venue, actually. I think it's one of those tracks that is kind of built for it, but they don't have it this time out, which means 3 practice sessions, which means it makes sense for a team to chuck in a young driver for FP1. Alex Dunn's been doing a very good job in Formula 2. He's ruffled a few feathers as well. For sure, he's had his fair share of incidents. That one at Monaco with Victor Martins was not pretty, but his raw pace has been excellent in that McLaren liveried car, whatever team he's with. Is he with Rodin? I can't remember. Fair play, Alex Dunn. Could he be in a position, kind of Gabriel Bortoletto position, a young McLaren driver, if he can go on and win Formula 2 this year in his rookie season? He definitely puts himself on the map. I think it's difficult for any young drivers now because the timing is a bit off. You've had loads of new young drivers come into the sport. You know, Hadjar, Behrman, Antonelli, Bortoletto, Colapinto, Lindblad's probably knocking on the door for Lawson's seat. You know, it's like we had the same grid lineup going from 23 to 24, didn't we? Or was it 22 to 23? Can't remember. Either way, it doesn't feel like the perfect time to be excelling. And we saw Felipe Drogovic, we saw Teo Pourchaire, we saw Callum Ilott. We've seen many a top-tier F2 driver not be able to get the step up to Formula 1 because of, you know, right place, wrong time. And I hope Alex Dunn's not one of them, but it's going to happen. It is going to happen. All he can do is maximise his results, put himself front and centre in the minds of McLaren, maybe really cultivate that seat, that test, you know, junior development seat. We saw Piastri take a year with Alpine where he wasn't racing. We saw Doohan take a year with Alpine where he wasn't racing. They both got into F1. I know Doohan's was short-lived, but that's the Briatore effect for you, isn't it? So, yeah, hopefully Dunn does a decent job in his first FP1 running. But then talking of Arvid as well, he has done a test in Imola, his first proper F1 test in the TPC AlphaTauri 2023 car, was sharing the test with Ayumu Uwasa around Imola. So Lindblad's got some F1 mileage underneath him now. The team will have some data to look at. They'll be able to compare him to Ayumu, who's, you know, Ayumu's done FP1s before quite a few times. So they should know how Ayumu stacks up relative to Yuki, to Hadjar, to Liam. And they should therefore have something to go on with Arvid. You know, they've been given dispensation, special dispensation, because he's not 18 yet, to run him, to give him a super license. And it's up to Red Bull. It wouldn't surprise me if they pull Liam mid-season, honestly. It's a very Red Bull thing to do. They've done it before. They would absolutely be open to doing it again. And we know there's a lot of belief in Arvid. You would hope it's not too much too soon. I would like, in my opinion, I would like to see it held off until 26. I think we should just keep things as they are for the rest of this season. But time will tell. Time will tell on that front. But hopefully Arvid did a good job. Hopefully he did decent. I'd love to see it. Right, let me go back full screen. We are half an hour in. See anything in the live chat before we get into the bangers and clangers, which of course we all are waiting for. AABB not looking good for Lawson. Now Liam needs some big weekends. He needs some big performances, really. He needs to be out qualifying and out finishing Hadjar semi-consistently now to, I think, give Red Bull hope. Because, you know, the problem is that them dropping Liam, even though, you know, I was the first one to say I think 2 races is ridiculous to drop a driver after 2 Grand Prix. It clearly was because they saw what they saw and didn't have faith and didn't have belief that he would be able to turn it around, and didn't even give him the chance to try, which does speak volumes for how they must perceive Liam Lawson. And now that he's being beaten by Hadjar, it's not looking good, Brev. He needs some big weekends. I've got a lot of love for Liam. He's a top bloke, but yeah, this is the F1 world for you. It will gobble you up and spit you out. So, Rainer, I'm going to go see the F1 movie tonight. Hence why I'm doing this live stream today on a Tuesday, because I want to do a little bit about my review, an honest review. A scathing review. Hopefully it's good. I really want it to be good. I don't want to just be negative about the film out of principle. Trust me, I will be as straight as it comes with my my review of it. Might get Hannah's review as well. Might blend it in, see if she's up for it. We'll do a F1 fan and non-F1 fan review. I think we should do that, but we'll see about that. We'll see. Talking about Austria this weekend? No, I'm not going to be in Austria this weekend, Tommy. No Austria plans this weekend for Talking Ball. Was this movie a 1 billion production? I mean, it was a lot of money. I mean, those cameras aren't cheap, and those cars, when you're shunting them into walls, aren't cheap either. Boganovic for FP1 at Ferrari. Yes, thank you, Vupa, for reminding me. I did forget about that. Dino Boganovic will be FP1 in Austria for Ferrari as well, which is pretty cool, pretty exciting. I think he's shown a lot of promise. He's good mates with Ollie Behrman, and there's a lot of belief in Dino. I remember when he jumped into F2 at the end of last year in Abu Dhabi, he did a really good job straight out the gates. So I'm excited to see Boganovic in a Ferrari as well. Happy days. What would you rate the F1 movie out of 10? Well, I'll let you know when I see it, Formula AM. I will let you know when I see it. Caspian, I have no F1 friends to go see it with, so I might end up going solo. Caspian. Look, Caspian, I would say that the point of the F1 movie is to try and get people in who aren't already within this echo chamber that we exist in. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea, Caspian, to go and see the movie with your non-F1 friends. I think you can just offer a different perspective. They'll probably be asking you a lot of questions, but I think it is built for a casual / not F1 fan more than it is built for the likes of you and I. So I think go with your mates. That's what I'd say. I think go with your mates. Dan, do you think Lando has put himself in a corner? He might be more hesitant to go for moves now. Look, Dan, and I said this in my video about Lando last week, he needs to remember to forget, which sounds weird. When you listen to Federer, when you listen to McElroy, when you listen to these greats, it's the amnesia, it's forgetting about when things go wrong, which is kind of a catch-22 because you want to learn from your mistakes, absolutely, but then you can't allow those things to weigh on your mind. Lando can't allow himself, once he gets into wheel-to-wheel battle with Max or with Oscar or with anyone, he can't allow what happened in Canada to be there in his mind. Like, it was a misjudgment. It happens. It was silly. Whatever. What's done is done. Lando needs to make sure that he forgets that. He learns the lessons, but then forgets it, wipes it from his mind, you know? Formats that SD card in his head. Gone. Fin. Done. It's not coming back. It's not going to... Because if, in that heat of battle, if you start to get those niggling little doubts there, that's when things go wrong, you know? That's when things go wrong. Austin, you're here live. Welcome. Welcome, Austin, to the live show. Right, cool. Okay, let's carry on with bangers and clangers, shall we? Let's get into it. My predictions first and foremost, then yours. Who do I think is going to win this weekend's 2025 Austrian Grand Prix? My prediction is Max Verstappen. Basically home territory. I mean, it's insane. You go to Austria, it is 90, I want to say maybe even 95. Let's say 90% Max fans. The Orange Army is huge. He's got his own dedicated grandstands. It is the Red Bull Ring. He knows this place incredibly well. He races around this place incredibly well. I think that Red Bull, you know, around a circuit that they know, that their car thrives around, that their driver thrives around. I mean, Max thrives everywhere, let's be honest. But that car isn't going to be able to give Max the opportunity to win at a number of Grand Prix for the remainder of this season. But I think Austria is one of them where it will give him the chance to win. And if you give Max the chance to win, he probably wins. So I'm saying Max Verstappen wins this Grand Prix. You, 1,043 of you have gone as your race winner for Oscar Piastri. 34% of the vote, narrowly beating out Max Verstappen with 32%, then Lando Norris with 22%, and then George Russell with 5%. Only 5% for George. And look, as much as I think this could be the start of a more competitive Mercedes between now and the end of the year, especially if this upgrade that they chuck on the car for this weekend works with the upgrade they brought in Canada and really creates a competitive package, I still think Max is going to have enough to get it done. Of course, the McLarens are going to be quick around here as well. But I think when Max has a car that can win, he usually will win. And it doesn't matter if it's Norris, Piastri, Leclerc, Russell ahead of him, Max will find a way to win. That's what I think. Then banger driver for me this weekend, I've gone with Esteban Ocon in the Haas. Now, my logic here is that Haas have always run well around the Red Bull ring. They have a very good record around here. Their team seems to understand the nuances of what's needed in this track. It's rear limited. You're not chucking big high-speed corners that often. It's more traction zones, which then puts more energy and more struggle through the rear of your car. Of course, Haas chose not to take the new suspension from Ferrari this year, and that seems to have paid off somewhat in terms of stability within Haas. Now, Ferrari might find something with the upgrade, the rear suspension changes, but there's a reason Haas didn't take it on, and it seems to have, for Haas anyway, given their resource, it seems to have worked out for them. And Esteban's been driving well. He's got good points on the board. Has Esty Bestie. So I'm saying Esteban, banger driver this weekend. I think he'll be in the points. Your banger driver is Max Verstappen, but only 13% of the vote. This was a mad spread. Probably the biggest spread on banger driver vote ever. So 13% for Max, 13% for Leclerc as well. However, I'll just get the numbers up here. So Leclerc had 129 votes. Max had 133 votes. So 4 more votes for Max than Charles. Could have gone either way. Then Alonso, 7% of the vote. And then Norris, 7% of the vote as well. So super, super tight. Antonelli got 6. Russell got 6. Hulkenberg got 5. Albon got 5. Hadjar got 6. Tsunoda got 5. So there's a big spread. No consensus here with your banger driver anyway. Doesn't up to 100. Thank you, Avkid, for that. Appreciate the math. And then clanger drive for me. I've gone Liam. I'm not seeing a bounce back. I'm seeing Hadjar comfortable. I'm seeing Hadjar deliver. And as that pressure and, Lindblad's doing his testing, I'd love to say otherwise, but I feel for Liam at the minute, and I feel like if things don't change, and I just can he bounce back? Can he put in a big performance this weekend? I really want it to happen, but do I actually believe it's going to happen? I do not. Look, surely, Gladiator, the curse is for me to do this, and then Liam actually has a banger. That's kind of how curses work. It's the opposite. So there's nothing to lose here. I actually don't think he's going to have a good weekend, but if he does, then I've cursed it, and then you're welcome him. Oh dear, that's the way it works, isn't it? Right, and then your clanger driver this weekend, you've gone for Lance Stroll. Shock, as you always do. 13% of the vote. Then Lewis Hamilton, 11% of the vote. Lando Norris, 9%. Yuki Tsunoda, 9%. Okay, not much more to say on that, really. To be honest with you, banger team for me, I've gone Haas for all the reasons I outlined with Esteban. I think Haas are going to be strong this weekend. I think they're going to be in a good place. They're very up and down, but I think this is going to be an up for the team from Banbury. And your banger team is McLaren. McLaren, it's 19% of the votes, ahead of Mercedes with 17%, then Ferrari 14%, then Williams with 13%. And then finally, clanger team, for me, I've gone with Williams. It's been a bit of a slog, isn't it? Sauber found something. Alpine typically do all right around Austria. Williams, it's been bad luck, but also execution's not been great at recent weekends. And reverse jinx is also potentially a thing because, I love Williams. I've got a lot of time for Williams. So we'll see. I'm going clanger Williams this weekend. And you're going with Alpine. 25% of the vote. 16% for Ferrari. 11% for Haas. 10% for Aston Martin. Time will tell. Time will tell. Williams V-carb falling off. Well, look, again, upgrades, it's a consistent thing, right? Even though, I got to say, I think we've seen more upgrades this season and more development this season than I was expecting. I'm sure a lot of it was stuff that was already worked on prior to the regulations for 26 being signed off. and these things take time to come to implement. But it's kind of impressive how much, and I'm glad from a competition point of view, I'm glad. From an unpredictability point of view, I'm glad that the teams haven't just, we don't need to do anything this year. Sack it off. Let's just focus on 26. I've got a sneeze right here. Oh, God. No, it's gone. Okay, we're gone. We're good. So, yeah, I'm happy from that point of view. I am satisfied that the teams are actually, trying to cook up something, trying to turn their seasons around, even if it hamstrings them for 2026. I guess it's impossible to say, because it took so long for the regulations to get fully signed off, how much value you would have gotten from completely sacking off this season, like Williams have, right? This is why, in some ways, I do expect Williams to move backwards relatively over the course of this year, because Vowles has been so on it with right, we're not changing the car, this is it, this is what we have, whereas other teams are bringing upgrades, are bringing improvements in performance, But time will tell. Pre-sneeze. Okay, right, let's go team by team. Quickly, just to remind ourselves of what the situation is for teams. Again, Sauber, strong weekend with Nico last time out. They're looking like they've turned a bit of a corner with this car. Obviously, too little, too late. But it does bode well, bringing upgrades in performance and actually adding performance to the car, unlike Aston Martin have for most of last year, does indicate, okay, well, our correlation tools are working well. That there is some value to come from bringing upgrades to your 2025 car. Okay, there is some there. You can weigh up, maybe it's not worth it, and Williams have decided it's not worth it, but there is some value to it. And I think, Hulkenberg's cooking. I think Bortoletto's doing a very good job this year. I do, and I think the points haven't reflected that, but I don't think he's been bad at all. I've been impressed with Bortoletto, honestly. But not much more to say on them. Wheatley's doing his thing. Binotto's hopefully cooking up something nice with Audi in the engine department. Time will tell. Alpine, again, chaos. Now, my video this week about Pierre Gaz. I'm genuinely concerned for Pierre. Really. Flavio's basically got the reins, it seems. De Meo's not even there anymore as top dog at Renault. Who knows with this team? And if Alonso was to return, look, Alonso needs performance 26, 27. He can't afford to wait for the Aston Martin master plan to come together in 28, 29, 2030, because he won't be racing anymore then. So, and certainly not at his top level then. So, would I understand if Fernando returned to Alpine with Briatore at the wheel, with a Mercedes power unit in the back, with David Sanchez heading up the technical team? I think that's kind of compelling. I'm not going to lie. But remains to be seen on that front. Who's the fall guy? Gasly or Colapinto? Well, Colapinto brings the bag in, and we know Briatore loves a bit of Franco. And Franco's got it in him. We know it. We know Franco's got it in him. But I guess we'll see, won't we? Yesterday's video turned into Alonso vid. Basically it did. But I just hope for everyone at Enstone that their jobs are secure and safe, and that this change at Renault, top dog, De Meo out, doesn't do anything to Dodge, We'll see. Again, Ferrari, floor upgrades. Not much more to say other than that. Many are forced on with this team. A lot of pressure. Now the scrutiny on Fred's picking up. But I like Fred. I think he's the right person for that job. You just need to be patient. And that's something that the Italian media and Ferrari, understandably in many ways, because there's been so many false storms, but aren't particularly good at being. I think you just need to let Fred cook, let him do his thing. And hopefully you've got two incredible drivers in that team. Fingers crossed. Haas, I've already said, I think they're going to be on to good things this weekend. So, and I think Ollie's had an up and down run of it. He needs to find that consistency, but that he's having as a rookie season gets, is Ollie. He's having some top tier performances. He's having some stinkers as well, all rolled into one package. He's got the minerals, absolutely. Definitely not biased. Of course I am. Racing Bulls, Hadjar just keeps cooking. I listened to the Beyond the Grid podcast with Isaac. He's just a normal kid. It's just so nice. Isaac's becoming one of my favourites, actually. He's just so genuine, and doesn't come across as media trained. You know, he's just very real and honest and out there and emotional. And as a human being, I'm really drawn to that. So I think Hajar's an incredible testament to himself. I think after what happened in Australia, the way he's bounced back, he's been unbelievable. So I think Isaac's got a long future in this sport. I really do. And I'm chuffed for him because, you know, it was so easy for him. It would have been so easy for him to miss this opportunity to get to Formula One, you know, because he was the final rookie to really get his deal across the line. And a lot of us, myself included, didn't really have particularly high expectations for him. But he's been incredible. And it just makes you wonder, doesn't it, how many top quality drivers miss out just like Isaac could have easily missed out, would have become incredible F1 drivers with long careers in this sport, and it's not happened, you know? You just wonder, there must be so many examples of that. Drivers that came so close and could have been amazing. Kind of sad in a way, but happy for Isaac. McLaren, obviously, it's a good time to have a week off because it gives, you know, a bit of release to the pressure of the Lando Oscar situation. I think I said all I need to say about what Lando needs to do. He needs to understand why it happened and then delete it from his hard drive. Like, gone. That memory of Canada is gone. Didn't happen. That's the way he moves on. That's the way he bounces back. And I hope he can, because I want to see this title fight going the distance. But incidents like that do not fill me with confidence. It's how he responds from the adversity that is what will define his season, you know? We'll see. Time will tell on that front. Williams, like I said, no upgrades. Science is going to get more comfortable, but it feels like other teams towards the back are adding things to their cars. So I question how competitive Williams will remain for the rest of this season. But, you know, they might not need to be, because Albon scored so many points at the start of the year. Maybe that'll be enough to hold on to P5 and all that lovely prize money that comes with it. Maybe. Mercedes, look, I want to see George Russell fighting Max for a title. That is the battle that I want to... Ooh. No, you know what the battle I want to see? Oh, Verstappen versus Leclerc or Verstappen versus Russell? Verstappen versus Leclerc, I think, would be more of like a pure racing battle, and Leclerc would fight Max in the way, and they know each other how they fight, you know? I think Leclerc Verstappen would probably be the most entertaining. I think Verstappen Russell would be the most dramatic. There would be massive, pinch points. It would be so good for the drama. The drama, Mick. I love it. It would be so good for the drama. But I think Leclerc Verstappen is the one I really, really want to see above all else. But George Russell, give that boy the car with his flat cap. Have you seen the pictures? Mercedes flat cap. Of course George wears a Mercedes flat cap. Give him the car and he'll be there. Max versus Alonso. Max versus Alonso would be cool. Do a poll. Yeah, I'll do a poll. Which title scrap would you be more excited for? Get the flat cap off. Max versus Charles, or Max versus Russell, or I'll give another option, Max versus someone else, because Max is the common denominator in this. Of those three options, is there another driver that you think, and so maybe that driver is Alonso, that you think would be more box office? I think I would go Max Charles, but Max Russell would also be, yes, so good. Please, I beg you, come on. Right, Aston Martin. They do seem to have found something. They do seem to have found some performance, which is good. Finally, They're giving Alonso a car that he can get into the top 10s. And again, this is, the whole Williams relatively moving backwards. It feels like Sauber have found performance. It feels like Haas on their good day can outperform Williams. It feels like Aston have found performance. Time will tell. I don't know. I just don't know if that's the team for Alonso next year, honestly. Aston Martin versus Alpine. If Alonso's 10 years younger, 5 years younger even, 100% stay at Aston Martin. But he's not. He needs it now. He needs the performance in 26 and 27. I don't know if Aston Martin can give that to him. Knew he's going to take time to get his feet under the table. And that engine, what's that engine going to be? It's not the same Honda that it was Red Bull, because Red Bull Powertrains hired a lot of the Honda engine staff. So, I don't know. Will I be in Silverstone next week? Possibly. Cannot confirm, cannot deny. And then finally, Red Bull. Yeah, look, I think Max, around this track, the team know what this track needs from the car setup point of view. I think Max will win this weekend. If not, he will definitely be on the podium. I think they'll go well at Silverstone as well. There's obviously going to be some circuits where it definitely doesn't work for that car, but I think we're in for a good double header for Red Bull from Max's point of view. Yuki, just got to keep hoping. He can hook up a weekend and find something. I like to think, I hope, I believe that they've seen more in Yuki than they saw in Liam, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. I hope that to be true, but time will tell. Which title scrap would you be more excited for? So 40% of you have gone for Max versus Charles, 46% of you have gone for Max versus Russell, and 14% of you have said Max versus someone else. I mean, give me either or. Honestly, not picky. Just give me one of them, please. Before Max retires, please. Before he hangs his helmet up and goes to Le Mans. Just give us one of them. I beg. That'd be incredible. Okay, right. Full screen. Any super chats that I've missed? Thank you. Sorry, I can't say your name. Well, I can't see it. But thank you for the $5 super chat. What's your take on Ferrari not bringing upgrades? Is it a reflection of its leadership? And what do you think of Ferrari opening UK branch? Well, so Ferrari, they are bringing a floor in Austria. So they are working on something, and there's possibly more coming as well. It feels like Ferrari have made a decision to be like, we can't let this season just fall into the abyss. We have to try. And I understand where that pressure comes from. The expectations of the Tifosi, the Italian media, having Lewis Hamilton in the car, making this big signing, dropping Sainz, who Sainz was very, very good at feedback, very good at developing the car, very adept in those ways. And I'm not saying Lewis isn't, but Lewis has had so much to get on top of that I think I do think the Ferrari car would be in a better place now, the car itself, if Sainz was still in that seat alongside Leclerc. That's what I think. I believe that. But at the same time, I think some of the criticism is unfair and unmerited, and it comes from this systemic, seemingly, disappointment from this team, where so often, again and again and again, they've let us down as fans and not given their drivers the package to succeed. And Charles needs a world title, man. That would be such a travesty if Charles Leclerc doesn't finish his career with at least one world title. And to do it at Ferrari, you feel like he's going to hold on. There's been talk of, him considering other options. I don't think he's going to leave. I see him being a one-team man. I do. And I just hope that they repay that loyalty by giving him the package to win, because there is no excuse for Ferrari. There is the only valid excuse, I guess, is that they are so far away from the big talent pool of Formula One engineers in, the Midlands in the UK. And to your point, what do you think of Ferrari opening a UK branch? There is talks of Ferrari opening a UK satellite base. There's also been talks of Sauber doing the same. In fact, that is confirmed, isn't it? I think Sauber Audi going to set up a UK base of operations, and then Racing Bulls are already based out of Milton Keynes pretty much entirely anyway. Fines are still there, but it's not the team like it used to be. So basically, which is kind of sad, it's like all of the teams now, because the only teams you had that were fully outside of the UK were Ferrari, Toro Rosso, and Sauber. Well, now they're all opening UK bases, seemingly. It's not. I don't think it's confirmed with Ferrari. But if that's where all the talent is, and the talent can so easily move between Alpine or Haas or Mercedes or McLaren, because they're all within a 100-mile radius. They can all live in the same houses. They can do the same commutes. They can just, I'm going to go there instead. The commute to the track is basically the same because you all work in the same paddock. That is going to make it harder for these teams outside. So you can understand why they're doing it, because they want that talent to be able to contribute towards their cars and not have to move to Maranello, not have to move to Hinwil, not have to move to Faenza. I get it, but it's a shame it is that way, you know? It's a shame it is that way, but if you want success, you need the best people, and the best people are in the UK, and that's not British bias, that's just because that's the way it is. That is the way it is, you know? Thank you, Ragav, as well, for the super chat. Do you think Lando is faster than Oscar at the moment, like Matt Gallagher, and what? So I read that as, do you think Lando's faster than Oscar like Matt Gallagher is faster than Oscar? That's how I read that. Matt, you wish, son. You wish. And do you also believe Oscar still has more potential and pace to unlock? The second part, yes, absolutely. He's only done 50... How many Grand Prix is he on now? Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri has completed, or at least started. He has done... Come on, Wikipedia. Stop taking so long. 56 starts. 56 starts Oscar has. 56 starts, okay? Lando Norris has 138 starts. So, yes, I do think there is more theoretical gain that Oscar can make. You know, when Oscar's done 112 starts, right? So once he's doubled his race starts, he will still be lower than what Lando is now. But surely, with double the experience, Oscar will be better than he is now. Surely. Now, look, do I say that? I think you can argue what the cutoff is. You can argue what the cutoff is. Maybe that's a poll. How many GP should it take to reach your theoretical peak? So I think the low end, you can't peak after. So I'll do some ranges. I'll do like 25 to 50 races. So then it'd be 51 to 75, then 76 to 100, and 101 plus. I've just given these ranges for all you here live. So how many Grand Prix should it take to reach your theoretical peak? 25 to 50, 51 to... And I'll see your responses and maybe judge it from the 51 to 75, 76 to 100. And again, I'm not like theoretical. You kind of get to your ceiling and you can't really expect much more. Obviously, having 300 Grand Prix instead of 200, there's going to be some learnings. There's going to be some wheel knowledge that you gain, some racing IQ that you gain that Fernando Alonso has that, say, Max Verstappen doesn't have, for example. But I would say that 76 to 100, 43% of you are saying within that kind of range, which is like 3 seasons. That's like 3 full seasons, 24 Grand Prix a year. So that's 72. Can I math? 48, 7, yeah. 72 races is 3 full seasons. So 42% of you believe that you should be reaching your theoretical peak after 3 full seasons. Oscar's in his 3rd season now. 24% of you think it should basically happen in this 3rd season, 51 to 75 races. And then 29% of you think it takes over 100 races to reach your theoretical peak. So again, this is where, and I said this was always my logic last year about predicting Oscar to be ahead of Lando. There is more theoretical peak for Oscar to grow into. Lando has 130, whatever it was, 6 race starts to his name. I think I think over 100. I think 4 full seasons. There's not much more to grow into. Certainly not in one lap pace. Again, maybe a little bit of racing IQ, but I think once you've done 4 full seasons, that's absolutely kind of where you are. That's the way I see it. But yeah, I mean, saying Lando is quicker than... Yeah, I mean, I think some weekends, yeah. I think if Lando absolutely hooks up a lap, if Oscar absolutely hooks up a lap, probably Lando, I would say, is maybe very, very slightly quicker. Maybe. But like by the most impossible of margin. And I think if you ask that question to me again in a year's time, I'd probably say there's no difference. And right now, if I had to quantify a difference in outright 1 lap pace between the two of them, I'd maybe put Lando less than half a tenth quicker than Oscar if they both hook it up fully. But again, you're going to get one-off laps that Oscar hooks up and Oscar's going to be quicker than Lando and vice versa. But that's not what is going to win you world titles. As we see, it's the decision-making, it's the racecraft, it's the mentality. That 1 lap outright pace, you've got Kimi Antonelli as an 18-year-old putting it on pole in Miami. You can do that as a rookie. You can be that quick. You can have that outright 1 lap pace as a rookie. But you can't win a world title as a rookie. I mean, okay, Lewis almost did. But then he did have more than a full season's worth of testing because testing was unlimited back then, which definitely helped. But even so, in the pressure of the moment, Lewis almost did it. But I don't think we're ever going to see that again. I think that was a rookie jumping into a top team, having unlimited testing, and to what extent the team was prioritising Lewis. And I don't want to open up that can of worms. I don't know the answer to that question. But I don't think we'll see that again. That's my opinion on that anyway. About 40% of you've kind of 76. So basically three full seasons. Once you're into your 4th season, that's when you should be really like where you are, basically. Bring back testing. Oh, don't trust me. The pit mechanics, the crews do not want to bring back unlimited testing. Trust me. Trust me. I've spoken to Mark Priestley at length about this. He's not keen for those days to come back because they were long days. They were 20, 21, 22-hour days. That's not to be messed with at all. Right, okay. I think we're about done. We've been live for over an hour, which is long for a pre-race. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Julia, Melix, McFillan, Lowell, Fantastic Frog, Gladiator, Dawood, Cornelia, Wolfie, Pranav, PH02, Kimmy, Ajinkya, Fantastic Frog, Bloated, Easy G, Javasia, Rainer, IDK, Vladislav, Michael, Cornelia, a Kiwi, Katie, Noodle, Baz, Caspian, Sam, Yard Animal, Shantanu. I'm going to try and shout out as many as you can. Kev, Ale, Corridor, Alexis, One Scorcher, Ahmad, Fires, David, Lewis, Vyasa, Interya, PH, and the rest of you. It's been a pleasure as always. My name's Tomo. Thanks again. Wait, have I got anything else to say before I do my proper outro? Tomorrow, my F1 movie review will be on the YouTube channel, probably as a video. Probably won't do that as a live stream. I'll kind of break it down, do kind of my honest assessment. So I'm going to go see that tonight. Should be fun. And yeah, buzzing for this weekend, buzzing for Austria. Should be good. Always a banging race. Always delivers, does Austria. So I can't wait. So stay safe, be good, be well, be happy. The world's a crazy place at the minute, so take care of yourselves. And we are actually done now. My name's Tomo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.